So welcome everybody to today's session 3 of this 2024 version of online Gita Parayan. As we have discussed in last sessions, we have switched away from the physical session to the online session, online Parayan from this year, as was our system, which we had for the past 3 years during the COVID times, because it enables a lot of people to join from different places. The talk today is by Sri Balaji Ramaswamiji, and he has been a guide as well as a sadhaka or a learner of the Bhagavad Gita as well as various other Vedantic texts of from our Indian spiritual traditions. Today, even though he's not in Singapore, he is actually working in Dubai for the past few months. So he has been kind enough to join us, even though 4 hours ahead of our time here. So thank you so much, Balaji. Balaji can actually take over. I think probably he has some slides to show. So maybe you are now already made as a co-host, so you can actually present yourself. Is that okay? So let me just spotlight you first before. So this is Balaji. So Balaji, you can take control over this. You can present yourself.
Hari Om. Are you able to see my screen?
Yes, we can see. Yeah, very good.
Hari Om.
So we have about 40 minutes if you can use, and after that we can have a short Q&A session, because these 2 chapters are very beautiful chapters. So I'm sure a lot of people have a lot of questions. So maybe 40-45 minutes we can take, and after that we can give 15 minutes for a short Q&A session.
Okay. Om Tvameva Mata cha Pita Tvameva Bandhushcha Sakha Tvameva Tvameva Vidya Dravinam Tvameva Sarvam Mama Deva Deva Shri Dakshinamurti Sudeshikendram Dvaipayanam Sutrakritam Munindram Shri Shankaram Bhashyakritam Yatindram Maddeshi Kanchapi Namami Vityai. Om Namo Brahmadibhyo Brahma Vidya Sampradaya Kartribhyo Vamsa Rishibhyo Mahatbhyo Namo Gurubhyaha Sarvopaplavarahita Prajnana Ganaha Pratyagarto Brahmaivahamasmi. Om Prapannaparijataya Totra Vetraikapanaye Jnana Mudraya Krishnaya Gita Mrtaduhe Namaha. Pranams everyone. So today I intend to actually go through these chapters of 3 and 4. A quick summary of chapter 3 and 4. As you know, Bhagavad Gita consists of 18 chapters, and it is organized as 3 shatkams. The first shatkam consisting of the first 6 chapters cover Karma Yoga as a sadhana, Jiva Swarupam, and also Jiva Prayatna. The second shatkam covers Upasana Yoga, Ishvara Swarupam, and Ishvara Anugraha. And then the final shatkam covers Jnana Yoga as the sadhana, and then it also talks about Jiva Ishvara Swarupa Aikyam and the values that one must possess, Sadgunas. Now in this chapter 3, Karma Yoga, we can actually split the Karma Yoga chapter into 13 segments or 13 sections. The first 2 slokas were Arjuna's question. And his question was, if there are 2 sadhanas, jnana and karma, and if jnana is the one which gives moksha, then why are you not asking me to take to jnana? Instead, you are asking me to take to karma. That was Arjuna's question to Bhagavan. And his question is, because if Bhagavan had already mentioned, if jnana yoga is the one which leads to liberation, he had already mentioned that. And so he asks the question, you are glorifying Jnana Yoga, but ultimately you are advising me to follow Karma Yoga. So from sloka 3 to 7, Bhagavan gave the answer, and Bhagavan does not give a straight answer. He made certain fundamentals very clear. And he started with Lokesmin Divida Nishta, Pura Prokta Mayanaga. Bhagavan said, I have established 2 sadhanas and 2 nishtas. 2 nishtas meaning 2 lifestyles. The 2 lifestyles are Pravritti and Nivritti Marga. which is basically the grihastha or sannyasa ashrama. And then the two sadhanas are karma and jnana yoga. And he also clarified in this, the lifestyle does not determine moksha. Whatever be the lifestyle, if a person follows those two sadhanas, he will attain moksha. And as long as he performs karma yoga sadhana, he will have to attain mental purity, and then he performs jnana yoga as a sadhana, he will attain jnana and then moksha. So there is a choice on nishtha, whether to take grihastha or sannyasa, but there is no choice on sadhana. This is the essence of Bhagavan's answer. And it's only the sadhanas that determine moksha. And karma yoga is action oriented. The sadhana is action oriented. Jnana yoga is where one renounces action. So now Arjuna could get a doubt. He could say, let me do jnana yoga as a sadhana. Why should I do karma yoga as a sadhana? Therefore, Bhagavan clarifies in the next sloka. He says, without doing karma yoga, one cannot come to jnana yoga. Only by purifying oneself through karma yoga, one can come to jnana yoga. And he mentioned that one cannot renounce actions without taking them up first. Bhagavan also mentioned no one can remain without any action. Depending on their guna, they will be involved in some action or other. And one other important point he made was that if a person renounces action without having any proper mental maturity, he will turn out to be a hypocrite or a mithyachara. Thus, basically, Bhagavan gave the dangers of renouncing karma. If a person takes up sannyasa without getting the mental maturity, then it will create issues for both him as well as the society. So the next topic Bhagavan covered between sloka 8 and 16 was karma yoga, the main topic of this chapter. Bhagavan had said to Arjuna that one cannot come to jnana yoga without doing karma yoga. So the question was, what is karma yoga then? The first point he made was, karma yoga is performing one's duties. Niyatam kuru karmatvam. Performing your duties is karma yoga. What it means is, our raga dvesha, our likes and dislikes should not determine our actions, but our kartavya buddhi should determine our actions. This is the first point that he made. Second point he made was, in yajnartat karmano anyatra. Bhagavan talked about the attitude or bhavana that one must have when performing actions. Already he had defined what sort of actions. What sort of actions is duties. What sort of attitude must one have? It should be Ishvara Arpana. And even if one does a kamya karma, desire-driven actions, in the initial stages of spiritual sadhana, then the person must take the outcome as Ishvara Prasada. The next point that Bhagavan made on karma yoga was about performing the Panchamaha Yajnas. Deva Yajna, Pitru Yajna, Brahma Yajna, Manushya Yajna, Bhuta Yajna. And he mentioned that an Yajna-based life is karma yoga. Then on the next point on karma yoga, Bhagavan underscored the concept of Dharmo Rakshati Rakshitaha. Karma yoga is about living a life of dharma. If one lives a life of dharma, then the dharma which is protected by us will protect us. If we protect nature, it will protect us. Likewise, if we will have to help devas, and the devas will help us in return. Bhagavan says this is karma yoga. Then in sloka 14, Bhagavan called karma yoga as Jagat Chakra Hetuhu. As in, if we perform karma yajnas as karma yoga for devas, it will result in punya. And because of this punya or adrishtam, the rains come. From the rains, the food come. From the food come the bodies. From the bodies, again, action or karma. And again, it goes to rains, comes to rains. So if the world has to function properly, live in harmony, it can happen only through karma yoga. So body is dependent on annam, annam is dependent on rains, rains are dependent on punya, punya is dependent on karma, karma again dependent on body. So the chakram is completed. Then in shloka 17 and 18, Bhagavan talked about moksha swarupa. These two slokas should be in Jnana Yoga chapter. But what is moksha? Whenever we get a doubt what is moksha, what is to be attained, we can refer to these kind of slokas. Bhagavan said, Atmaratihi. Atmaratihi, Atmatriptaha, Atmanyeva Santushtaha. Atmaratihi means he revels in himself. He is happy in himself. Atmatriptaha means being contented in oneself. So what is the difference? Atmaratihi means not finding any problem or complaint or fault in oneself is Atmaratihi. Atmatriptihi is not finding fault or any problem or complaint in the things handled by oneself is Atmatriptihi. And then Atmanyeva Santushtaha, being fulfilled, always contented. And Bhagavan said, Tasya karyam na vidyate. He does not, the person who has these qualities, he has no responsibilities. He does not have any responsibilities. And then in Shloka 18, Bhagavan said, Naiva tasya kritenartaha na kritenahe kashchana. This person who has attained this moksha, or one who has attained moksha, he does not have any condition. That this has to be done, this must happen in this manner. In other words, I get fulfillment by doing this. Some people have this. I get only fulfillment by doing this. If I'm not able to do this, I feel unfulfilled. And there is that compulsion for people. For a jnani, there is no such compulsion. Whatever happens or does not happen, it does not affect him. That sort of mindset is moksha. He is not dependent on anything. And until a person gets that attitude, until that person gets that mindset, one should be involved in activity. Thus, Bhagavan gave the Swarupa of moksha, but also mentioned that until the time that one reaches here, a person must continue to remain in action. In Shloka 19, Bhagavan concluded Karma Yoga saying, Tasmat asaktas satatam karyam karma samachara. Always perform the action appropriately without any attachment. Then in Shloka 20 and 29, between 20 and 29, the topic was Loka Sangraha, doing the actions for the sake of well-being of the society, or we can say Shishtacharaha, meaning way of life and teachings of live models society. Bhagavan had said that Karma Yoga has to be performed for Chitta Shuddhi, for mental purity. In case Arjuna had this doubt that I have enough Chitta Shuddhi or mental purity, therefore I need not perform Karma Yoga, Bhagavan said, one must perform Karma Yoga, or one must perform their duty, not Karma Yoga, must perform their duty as an example for others. And Bhagavan gave Janaka as an example. And the topics between 20 and 29 can be divided into four. One, Loka Sangraha, performing the duties for the sake of well-being of the society. So if a jnani is doing his duties, one should understand that he is not doing it for the sake of Chitta Shuddhi. He is doing it for the sake of welfare of others. The second topic is Shishtacharaha, meaning the way of life and teachings of live models. Yadyat acharati shreshtaha tadadyeva itaraha janaha anuvartade, Bhagavan said. Whatever is performed by a superior person is copied by his followers. Everyone looks at their role models to lead their lives. And therefore, Bhagavan said that Arjuna, you are a leader, you are a role model, you have so many people looking up to you. Thus, you have a greater responsibility. And here is where we come to know that dharma, adharma knowledge is known to us through three things. One, Shruti, or the Vedas, is the first pramana. The second is Smriti. Then the third one is Shishtachara. The third topic within this section was advice given to jnanis. The advice that Bhagavan gave to jnanis was, that jnanis must not give any advice to karmis. That is, vairagya should not be taught to people who have desires, or who have desire, or who wants to experience pleasure, who wants to accumulate things. Karma or action should not be criticized. We should encourage them to perform kamya karma. In case if we force this Vedanta or Vairagya on them, then they may not be able to renounce their desires properly, and they will end up being hypocrites. Therefore, Bhagavan gave advice to Jnani as na buddhi bedam janayet. Then the last topic within this section was Jnani Ajnani Karma Beda. Bhagavan gave a difference in the way a Jnani and an Ajnani perform action. Bhagavan said, karma comes out of Prakriti. And a person, Ahankara Vimudhatma, a person who is deluded by Ahankara, due to Ahankara, he considers I am the doer. Kartaham iti manyate. He considers I am the doer. So that is for an Ajnani. An Ajnani thinks he is the doer. Whereas a Jnani, for a Jnani, guna guneshu vartante iti matva na sajjate. He remains detached with the understanding that the gunas function among gunas, which means the gunas, sense organs function among sense objects. So both the Jnani as well as an Ajnani get involved in action, but a Jnani does it for Loka Sangraha and does not get Papa or Punya, whereas an Ajnani gets them. Why? Because an Ajnani thinks he is the doer, and for him the self is the body and mind. Whereas for a Jnani, he understands that he is not the doer. For him, the self is Atma. So these 4 points came out in between shlokas 20 and 29. And then in shloka 30, Bhagavan gave the essence of Karma Yoga. Mai Sarvani Karmani, the important shloka. First point was Adhyatma Chetasa. Adhyatma Chetasa is a person with a clear knowledge on Karma Yoga, Viveka Buddhi, and also has an Astika Buddhi. The Astika Buddhi being that Ishvara is my Karma Pala Data. So that is Adhyatma Chetasa. With that knowledge, Mai Sarvani Karmani Sanyasya, dedicating all actions to Ishvara, doing Ishvara Arpana, Nirashir, having no expectations on results, Nirmamo Bhutva, with no feeling that this is mine, there is no Mamakara, Vigata Jwaraha, with equanity, with Samatvam, or we can say without any anxiety or tension. This is the essence of Karma Yoga, how to perform actions. Bhagavan as Karma Yoga. Then in 31 and 32, Bhagavan did a Karma Yoga Stuti. He praised Karma Yoga. Ye me matamidam nityam anutishtanti manavaha. Those people who follow the teaching of mine and without being critical, they are freed from the bonds of karma. But they are those who criticize my teaching, who do not follow it. They are completely deluded and they are doomed. They waste this life. They are spiritually doomed. They may get some material benefit, but ultimately they are spiritually lost. They won't get any peace of mind at all. Then in shloka 33 and 34, the Prakriti Purushartha Vivekaha. What makes a person commit actions? Is it their free will or is it their Papa Punya? What is the reason for people to behave differently? Those were answered by Bhagavan. Sadrisham cheshtate swasyaha. Prakriter jnanavanapi. Even a jnani acts according to his swabhava or nature, is what Bhagavan confirmed. And he said, Nigraham kim karishyati. What will restraint do? How can we stop that? Everybody will act according to their Prakriti only, according to their swabhava, according to their nature. Then he added, likes and dislikes are bound to exist with regard to the object in every sense organ. In every sense organ, we have likes and dislikes for the objects that we come across. And we should not come under their control because they are our enemies. Indriyasyarte ragadvesho vyavastitav. Every individual has prakriti, this swabhava. This prakriti creates this ragadvesha, and this ragadvesha creates the first thought. We do not have a choice when the first thought of ragadvesha comes up in our mind. But not to convert that into action, we have a choice. Converting that into our action requires our free will. And not to convert into action, it can only be done through the support of our knowledge of Shastras and our free will and effort. And we should use our knowledge and free will to ensure that the thought does not manifest into action. Then in Shloka 35, Paradharma Tyagaha was discussed. Bhagavan had already said doing one's duty or doing swadharma, performing swadharma is karma yoga. Here he confirmed not doing another person's duty is also karma yoga. Another person's duty is not adharma in samanya sense, but it should not be done. For example, a sannyasi should not be accumulating wealth, which is a dharma of grihastha or householder, and accumulating wealth is not adharma for a grihastha, but adharma for sannyasi. Similarly, a brahmachari should not look to earn money or be involved in politics. So, paradharma tyagaha was mentioned by Bhagavan. Then in Shloka 36, it is Arjuna's question again. Arjuna asked, nobody likes to commit sins, and yet they commit sins. Why? Anichannapi varshneya bhaladiva niyojitah. Though unwilling, as though he is being forcibly persuaded. And this question is for people who believe in papa coming back as dukkham. Here, when Arjuna says nobody wants to commit sins, it must be understood as nobody wants to accumulate sorrow. And yet, why do they commit sins? And Bhagavan answers that from Shloka 37 to 43, Bhagavan answered, Kama yesha, krodha yesha, rajoguna samudbhava. The desire or attachment, basically the raga dvesha that we have in our mind, is the cause for people to commit sins and accumulate sorrow. Desire in the mind is the cause for sorrow. If the desire is removed, they will not commit sins. And Bhagavan talked about three topics here. One, Kama Swarupa, as in desire's nature. Then he talked about Kama Adhishtana. Where does the desire reside? The desire's origin. Then Kama Jaya Upaya, a plan to overcome these desires. These three are very important because for us to win an enemy, Bhagavan calls this desire as an enemy, we should know clearly about the enemy. And Kama Swarupa, Bhagavan gave Esha Krodha. Desire manifests as anger. And Rajoguna Samudbhava. It is born out of Rajoguna. And then Maha Ashanaha. It is insatiable. The more we feed the desire, the more it will ask. Then Mahapapma. It is the cause for huge sins. And Iha Vairinam. It is the enemy of our life in this life. And Kama Swarupa is such that it cannot be easily satisfied. Then Bhagavan gave the location of karma, Indriyani Mano Buddhi, he said. The sense organs, objects do not have a desire in it. The sense objects do not carry any desire. It is the sense organs which carry the desire. Sense organs, then Manaha, our mind has it. Then Buddhi, our intellect, even our intellect has desire in it. In short, we can say our Sukshma Sarira has desire in it. Our subtle body has desire. Then what is the way to win this desire? Bhagavan gave two ways. One was Damaha and Shamaha, sensory and mental discipline. So control of mind, control of sense organs are the ways to go to reduce desires. Then in shloka 42 and 43, the last two, in the end of the slokas, Bhagavan, in last two slokas, Bhagavan gave Atma Jnana as the upaya. Atma Jnana as the permanent solution. And he reiterated that the desire must be overcome. Jahi Shatrum Mahabaho Karma Rupam Kama Rupam Durasara. Conquer the enemy which is in the form of elusive desire, he said. And how did he complete this third chapter? He's completed this third chapter with the term Durasada, most difficult enemy, most elusive enemy. And he says this desire is very difficult to win it, but kill it, conquer it. Bhagavan accepts it is not easy, but he says it can be overcome, gives a way to it, and says conquer it. It must be conquered. So Bhagavan completed this chapter thus. This chapter is called Karma Yoga. Karma means duties, yoga means sadhana. To convert our duties into sadhana is Karma Yoga. Then chapter 4, Jnana Karma Sannyasa Yoga. Here again, the sections, we can split it into 9 sections. In the first 3 shlokas, Bhagavan talk about Yoga Mahima, the greatness of the knowledge that we received in the previous 2 chapters, that is chapter 2 and chapter 3. Especially in chapter 2, under the titles of Sankyam and Yogam, Bhagavan had given us Atma Tattva and Karma Yoga. So he begins the 4th chapter talking about its greatness of both Karma Yoga as well as Jnana Yoga. And he started off saying that I had given this knowledge in the beginning to Surya Bhagavan. And this knowledge has come down through a parampara. And then in the 4th shloka, Arjuna asks a question. Arjuna asks, you were born now. How could you have given this knowledge to Surya Bhagavan in the beginning? Now, Arjuna's question comes because Arjuna is not aware that Bhagavan Krishna is an Avatara Purusha. Therefore, from shloka 5 to shloka 8, Avatara Tattva is given. Bhagavan clarifies that I am Avatara Purusha. I am Ishvara Swarupa. And in every yuga, I take many avatars. And how do we understand Avatara Tattva? Avatara Tattva, Ishvara, for this Avatara Tattva, does not take a body out of karma. It does not take a body out of karma pala, like a jiva, which does. And a jiva takes the body also to exhaust karma. An avatara does not take a body to exhaust karma. So that is the first point about avatara. Then the second question is, when does he take an avatara? Whenever adharma increases, there is a decline in dharma. Then at that time, to restore and maintain dharma, in the world that Ishvara has created himself, he takes avatara. Then in the next point is, how does he maintain dharma? Dharma is not a thing to be maintained. It's not an object to be maintained. Dharma is maintained by people following dharma. And how Bhagavan also said, Paritranaya sadhunam. By protecting the people who follow dharma, dharma is restored, dharma is maintained. Vinashaya cha dushkritam. By killing the unrighteous people, adharma is destroyed. That is how Bhagavan says he restores dharma. Thus, in Avatara Tattva, Bhagavan talked about how does an avatara take place, when does it take place, why is there an avatara, and how Ishvara restores dharma. Then, from shloka 9 to 15, Bhagavan talked about certain sadhanas and also talked about moksha as the benefit of these sadhanas. What sadhana did Bhagavan talk about? Bhagavan said, whoever understands my real nature, janma karma cha me divyam, they do not take any body, another body after the death of this body. Then he also said, vita raga bhaya krodha hai, ones who are free from attachment, free from fear, free from anger. Manmayaha, ones who are completely absorbed in me, as in ones who have me as their goal, purified by the austerity of knowledge, jnana tapasa, they attain my swarupa. Thus Bhagavan giving out all the sadhanas. Then the question comes to us: why is it that not everybody? Why not everybody attain Bhagavan? Everybody lives life according to their desires. So Bhagavan says, everybody lives according to their desires. I neither force moksha upon a person, nor do I try to hold it back for any. I give whatever each one prays to me for. Then Bhagavan talked about human life, how a human life should be. The 4 varnas were talked about. He mentions that I had created these classifications based on guna and karma. So thus in this section, Bhagavan gave some sadhanas, and the benefit of these is Brahma Prapti, or to attain Ishvara. Then from Shloka 16 to 24, Bhagavan talked about the topic of Jnana Karma Sannyasa, which is the central theme of not only the 4th chapter, but also the entire Bhagavad Gita. It's a very important portion from Shloka 16 to 24. And this portion, Bhagavan wants to point out that there are 2 types of renunciation, 2 types of karma sannyasa. Bhagavan says a lot of people have delusion or confusion. They do not understand what is karma, what is akarma. Kim karma, kim akarmeti, kavayopyatra mohita. It is not, even for wise people, it is difficult. It is not easy to understand what is action, what is inaction. Bhagavan said, I will explain. And what is the benefit of knowing this? Bhagavan said, Jnatva mokshyase ashubhat. That knowledge itself will free us from inauspiciousness. And how did he give this concept? In Shloka 18, he said, Karmani akarma yah pashyed akarmani chaya karmayaha. Those who see action in inaction and inaction in action. He conveyed a truth through this sort of seemingly confusing and contradicting teaching. The truth is, Bhagavan says, Atma akarta. Atma is never a doer. The actions of the body seem to be like coming from Atma. Therefore, what we should see? We should see the non-doer Atma in the actions which are seemingly done by Atma. Non-doer Atma in the actions which are seemingly done by Atma. It's not done by Atma. Whereas for Anatma, Anatma is inert and it is always active. Anatma is never inactive. In case if we think that the body and mind is not in action, then we should see, if we think that the body and mind is at rest, then we should see action in that inactive Anatma. We should see the root of the action. Therefore, what we have to understand, the body is forever in action and the self, Atma, is never in action. This is the essence. And we have to understand, the Atma, is neither the Karta nor the Bhokta. The body is always doing action. So when we talk about retirement, the body and mind never retires. And for Atma, there is no need for any retirement. Retirement is irrelevant for Atma, for it was never in action. So the Atma, is always the Akarta. The body is always in action. This is the key point. Now, who should do sannyasa of what? With this knowledge, what we should do, we should renounce the kartrutvam and bhoktrutvam. The doership and the enjoyership we should renounce. This is the essence and message from this chapter. Thus, Bhagavan said, one should see inaction in jnani's actions and should see action in an ignorance action. Finally, Bhagavan classified jnanis into 2. One, a jnani who is in sannyasa ashrama, and another a jnani who is in grihastha ashrama. Then from shloka 25 to 33, Bhagavan talked about various sadhanas. A total of 12 supporting sadhanas were given by Bhagavan, and he imagined all these sadhanas as yajnas. Among these sadhanas, it is not mandatory that all sadhanas must be performed for moksha, but jnana must be attained for moksha. That jnana stuti was done by Bhagavan. And how was the stuti of jnana done? In shloka 32 and 33, Bhagavan said, all other yajnas, evam bahuvida yajna, all these different kinds of sacrifice have been described in the Vedas. Karmajan vidhi, know them as originating from different types of action. Shreyan dravyamayat yajna, jnana yajna parantapa. Know that jnana yajna is superior to all these material sacrifice. Then he said all these actions converge and they culminate in knowledge. Jnana Yoga was glorified. The greatness of knowledge was highlighted. Then in Shloka 34, Bhagavan gave how and where this knowledge must be attained. Tadvidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya. The knowledge must be attained from the Guru. And how should that person be? Inquire from him with reverence, render service unto him. And what sort of Guru we should have seen? Jnaninaha tattvadarshinaha, Bhagavan said. Basically, strotriya brahmanishta. The Guru should have studied the Shastras from a Sampradaya Guru and should be steady in knowledge as well. Then from Shloka 35 to 37, Bhagavan gave the Jnana Phalam, the benefit of this knowledge, the benefit of Atma Jnana. The first one was Mohanashaha. All the delusions in the mind are gone. Then Papanashaha. All the papams are done up to now are gone. Then Sarva Karmanashaha. Karma is separately mentioned to include Punyam also. All the Punyam is also gone. Then in between 39 and 42, Bhagavan concluded by giving some values, sadhanas that must be practiced to help attain jnana. And among those sadhanas, Bhagavan gave importance to Shraddha. Shraddhavan labate jnanam. The one who has Shraddha will attain this divine knowledge. Various sadhanas can be performed by various people, different people. It is not necessary that everyone must perform the same sadhana. Each one can perform different types of sadhanas to get mental purity. But before they attain jnana, jnana yoga is compulsory. And before they attain jnana, to get moksha, one must perform these three mandatory sadhanas. And those three mandatory sadhanas are Shraddha, then Tatparaha, total commitment, or three attitudes we can say, two attitudes and one sadhana. Tatparaha, total commitment, as in Tivra Mumukshutvam should be there. Then Sanyatendriya, sensory discipline. Sanyatendriya means sensory discipline. We can also include mental discipline also. So a person with sensory and mental discipline, with Tivra Mumukshutvam and Shraddha, one must attain jnana. And once he attains this jnana, he attains moksha. Then Bhagavan gave a certain character that one must not possess at all. Bhagavan put an importance to the doubtfulness. He says, one who is doubtful and ignorant, he attains doom. He wastes his life. If someone is ignorant, then there is a possibility that he can attain knowledge over a period of time. The same thing for a person who does not have Shraddha initially also, he may get it over time. But if a person has got doubtful attitude, Bhagavan says, neither will he be able to grow spiritually nor in this material life also. And he can never get moksha. So through this knowledge, Bhagavan says, renounce all actions. Through this knowledge, destroy all your doubts. Atishta, uttishta, arise, get up. Yogam, take to karma yoga. Thus he concluded the chapter. Om Tat Sat. Sri Krishna Paramatmane Namah. Sarvam Krishna Arpanastu. Thank you. Hari Om.
Yeah, thanks so much, Balaji. I really regret that we have to ask you to stop at 45 minutes, and you really did exactly kept the schedule. So really amazing that you could control such fantastic topics in such a short time and in such beautiful manner also. Really amazing. And there are lots of things, very interesting things that Balaji said. One is the likes and dislikes should not determine action. Sets of duties should determine action. Then he says one very interesting statement that Balaji made was, Jnani should not give advice to karmis. That is very interesting.
That's not me.
The idea of,
That's not me.
yeah.
That's Bhagavan giving the advice to Jnanis.
Yeah, that's very interesting. Then he says that about the connection between free will and action. How the free will is required to control your inner tendencies, and that inner tendencies should not lead to action. So that was also explained very well. And he said very interestingly, brahmachari should not indulge in politics. That is also very interesting. Then to conquer enemy, you must understand the enemy. That's another very wonderful and very, very wise statement. So to understand your mind, to conquer your mind, you should basically understand your mind. So to understand the mind, deep sadhana and deep investigation, tapas, as well as shastra, study of the shastras, swadhyaya is very, very important. Then he also talked in depth about the basic central ideas of chapter 5, the karma, akarma, vikarma, and action, how to see inaction in action and action in inaction. Very, very difficult topics for many people to understand. And what we should really renounce, if at all you want to do sannyasa, means basically you must only renounce kartrutvam and bhoktrutvam, and not the action itself. So the feeling that one is as a doer, and also the feeling that one is a consumer of the action, or the enjoyer of the action. These two are the two things which basically we must renounce. So this was also pointed out by Balaji. And then he talked about the Shraddha and Tatpara, and as well as control of the Indriyas as important, and as the primary ways in which you should actually tackle the problem. And then also the idea about samshyatma vinashyati, but I think that's is a little doubtful thing about samshyatma vinashyati. I always had doubt about this sentence by Bhagavan. Anyway, so it was a really very, very beautiful and very, very wonderful coverage in such a short time of such important ideas of karma yoga, 2 chapters. Basically, Krishna is telling Arjuna wanted to run away from action. So he says that running away from action is not the way, not the way to go about. So anyway, we'll have some time. I will spend some time with the question answers from the audience. So let us get back to our procedure for today. Then after that, we can come back. Okay. So Balaji, I will start with the. We have just a few more verses to complete, and after that, we will come back to the questions. Okay, it will be available, right? Okay. So thanking Balaji once again. So we stop the formal session for now, and after that we will open the thing for question answers, so people can ask questions to Balaji. So let me just remove the spotlight from everybody. Yeah, so I think I saw some questions. So before, okay, let me just enable people to ask, unmute themselves so that. Yeah, okay. Now, audience can actually unmute yourselves also for asking questions. And I had to really, apologies for not mentioning it earlier. The amount of effort that is taken by Balaji for preparing the slides is itself really amazing, and with wonderful graphics to make the ideas clearer. Putting graphics is really beautiful. And I also told him when we discussed earlier that having seeing both the visual as well as the sound, it gives a far better experience for understanding as just listening to something. So really the graphics really has made it much richer in terms of trying to making it more understandable and beautiful. And thank you for all the efforts and the hard work that is put up for this.
Balaji always does that presentation every year, and the slides are sought after. So again, this time also, I request Balaji to, if possible, to share the slides with us, and we can distribute to the registrants.
Yeah, I will definitely distribute to the next thing to all the registrants. Yeah.
Subject to Balaji's permission. Because
sure. I mean, this knowledge is for everybody. Yeah. Not my knowledge. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sir, and last time.
Yeah. Sir, and also, I think the slide presentation not only benefit the listeners, audience, in following through with what he is talking about, and then also understand the message very clearly. It also helps the speaker to stay on course. He doesn't deviate. He is able to navigate through the talk as he intended without much deviation. So it's a win-win situation. Thanks a lot, Balaji.
Thank you
very much. One question from Sindhuji. Sindhuji is already here. Do you want to ask the question, or can I read out the question? You can unmute yourself and speak.
Please read out, KKG. You can go ahead.
Yeah, basically her question is about the word Shraddha. This question is a very, I also have the same question. Basically, the word Shraddha is interpreted by especially Shankaracharya and many of our masters as to mean something like, intense not kind of devotion, sort of faith. The word that is used is faith for Shraddha, which actually in many of the, at least in Malayalam and Kannada and several of the languages, we don't use the word Shraddha in that meaning. We usually mean the word Shraddha to mean attention and concentration and things like that, strong awareness. So that has been, so this is a question that Sindhuji has. The first question. I think maybe you can answer this. After that, we can go to the next question. Okay. What does the word Shraddha mean? So that is the idea.
There is no equivalent English word for Shraddha. That's the reality. Shraddha is actually definitely not concentration, but if you have Shraddha, then you will do things in a concentrated manner. That's the way you have to understand it. Shraddha is, if you can say, a belief or a belief before understanding. A belief before understanding once. So the way I can give you an example, we say, have Shraddha in Shastras, have Shraddha in Guru. The reason is, what we are saying here is, you do not know whether what the Shastra says is right or wrong at the beginning, or you have doubts. Don't have that doubt. Have a faith in that, and until the time that it gets converted into your knowledge. Right now, it is Guru's knowledge. It is in the knowledge that is available in the Shastras. You have faith that, okay, this is true, or or you don't question that. You question that in the sense, you don't question without any kind of proper inquiry. You inquire, you understand, then you convert that into your knowledge. So it is an attitude that one must have for things that are unknown, especially when you want to make it your own.
Okay, so the first question, since we don't have much time, we'll read out all the questions. Next question is about the yajnas. Now, like you said, there are 22 kinds of yajnas talked about in this chapter 4. But I think what Balaji was talked about the Pancha Mahayajnas. So, but those are actually not mentioned in the 22 list that is given by Bhagavan. But the thing is that there are many yajnas given. So Sindhu's question here is that what are the important yajnas out of all the yajnas which are there, and explain the idea of Bhuta Yajna. So that's what our question.
So in the 4th chapter, Bhagavan is basically converting all actions into yajnas. So that is only a sample that the Bhagavan had given. It is not the full list of yajnas. Bhagavan gives a sample of those yajnas and says that this is how you can convert all your actions into yajnas. So we have to extrapolate that and then say whatever our actions, we can convert them into yajnas. With regards to the Panchamaha-yajnas, these are considered mandatory yajnas by Shastras. This is part of Karma Yoga, and this is about doing our bit for everything. For the Vedas, for the Vedas, as in our Shastras, is Brahma Yajna. To the Ishwar, to the gods, celestial beings, is Deva Yajna. Then to the fellow human beings, that we have to do our duties and take care of them is Manushya Yajna. Then Bhuta Yajna is the environment. Pitru Yajna is the parents and our ancestors. Bhuta Yajna is our environment. It includes plant kingdom, animal kingdom. And one of the ways that our Shastras ask us to do it or make sure that we are able to do it is by divinizing the entire creation. So our books, our Shastras books, all books are actually divinized. The ancestral worship is divinized. Matrudevo Bhava, Pitrudevo Bhava, parents are divinized. Then even the everything around the creation, the rivers are divinized, the hills and mountains are divinized, the plants are divinized. So we have fig tree, we have this alamaram, we have this arasamaram in Tamil we say, and then we have this Ganga Mata, Yamuna Mata, everything is divinized. And this is basically to ensure, one, it is of course Ishvara is creation, but also to ensure that we get that bhakti around it, we get that shraddha and bhakti, and we are able to do our part. We are taking care of it properly. Once we have something in a higher plane, we treat them properly, we give them respect, and that is one way to maintain this Jagat, this Jagat Chakra Hetu. Bhagavan says Jagat Chakra Hetu is actually Karma Yoga, to ensure that the universe is in harmony. We have to do this Bhuta Yajna. And what can be the Bhuta Yajna things today? Doing our bit for in those days, having this Rangoli Kolam using this rice flour in the morning for ants to eat, and then putting some, giving some leaves to cows, making sure that we worship Tulasi, we worship all the trees. All these are part of Bhuta Yajna. The plant, animal, and the environment, taking care of it is Bhuta Yajna.
Yeah,
I hope I answered.
Only the first, most important yajna. There is a question, another question.
The most, but the Panchamaha Yajnas, all the Yajnas are equally important. All the Yajnas are equally important. For Panchamaha Yajnas, there is no compromise on any Yajna. All the Yajnas have to be performed daily in one way or another. And
no, Balaji, actually, Bhagavan himself says at the end, Jnana Yajna is superior to everything else.
No, that is,
so I think,
I am talking with respect to Panchamaha Yajnas, all are equal. But the Jnana Yajna is, Jnana Yogam is where what we are saying is, once only when we do this Panchamaha Yajnas, a person attains mental purity, Chitta Shuddhi. Then he becomes qualified for Jnana Yoga. And therefore, for moksha, yes, Jnana Yoga is the ultimate last step for moksha. That is for sure. But all the yajnas, as in all the Panchamaha yajnas, are equally important, and they help us to get the mental purity, which allows us to be qualified for getting this jnana. I hope I understand.
Very good. The last question is shared was, can we surrender all our actions to our Guru instead of God?
As long as the Guru comes through a parampara and calls himself as one of the, and he has a parampara to go through, as in he's not a self-made Guru, it's fine. Because we also say Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwara. So dedicating actions to Guru is okay, as long as the Guru also considers him as his Guru and the Ishvara. He's got the Astika Buddhi and he has come through a parampara. But dedicating actions to a Guru is also okay.
Yeah, but I think here again, in today's world, we have to be very careful about gurus.
That's what I mentioned.
So we have to be, actually, Mahanirvana Tantra and many of the Tantras actually describe ways in which the gurus need to be examined and need to be questioned before you accept him as a guru at all. So that is very important in today's world. And once you accept a guru, and it is good to be having, and if you are 100% sure that this guru is truly an authentic guru. So basically, he must remove the ajnana from you. If he has the ability to do that, then you can offer to this my cake.
The Guru Lakshana given here by Shankaracharya is Shrotriya Brahmanishta.
Shrotriya and Brahmanishta, correct. Yeah. Shrotriya is now knows the Shrutis. And the Brahmanishta is, of course, one is established in the Brahman.
Yeah.
And one of the question is can we have the video recording for repeated listening? The video recording it's live streamed in both Facebook as well as YouTube. So you can always go to this Gita Jayanti's Facebook page or the YouTube channel, and you can get these videos at any time in the future. So it's available right now.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Yeah,
so this is
the Guru also has to be Shtachara. He has to follow what he says.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Brahmanishta will automatically will qualify for that, I think.
Correct. Yeah. But this today's world, it's very important. And there is one more question. Is another person is asking, Youth Forum on Saturday morning, is it on live stream? It is not on live stream. Dushyant Sridharji does not want anything to be live streamed. He has allowed us to put it on YouTube after the event, but not live stream. But even the YouTube, even the youth presentation will be available on our YouTube channels after the event, but not live streamed. Okay, so now we can, if there are any other questions, because these questions and answers are very important. So I think sticking to time is not so important. So we will. It is important that we clarify all the problems. All the questions. So if any others have any other questions, otherwise any urgent questions or doubts or comments or feedback.
Thank you very much. Excellently. Really enlightened. We are all enlightened so much. So repeatedly we have to listen to it.
Yeah, really. We also agree. Okay, I think since...
can I say one thing? Hello?
Yeah. Please.
Balaji, that was very beautifully presented and very beautifully illustrated, just like you do always. One small doubt for me was the last bit you said was that people who have doubts won't get moksha. So, like you said 3 categories, and you said that people, and isn't it that Arjuna was full of doubts and it was clarified by Krishna? And me, I'm always doubtful, so I'm very scared that I'll never get moksha. So, can you is it true that people have doubts won't get moksha? So, it's a bit challenging in life.
So, here Bhagavan, here the doubt has to be understood as the opposite of Shraddha. Okay. Bhagavan talked about Shraddha, and then he said this doubt. The doubt here has to be understood as opposite of Shraddha, which means if a person has a valid doubt and he is willing to inquire with Shraddha, then it is okay. That's why we have got even sadhana called Mananam. A Mananam is a sadhana for Jnana Yoga. You have Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana. Mananam is about removing all doubts. So a doubt is valid. There is no way that Bhagavan or our Shastra says that doubt should not be there. But here Bhagavan, when he is talking about a doubt with lack of Shraddha, as in pulling down, as in completely disregarding or not willing to listen or sticking to your own position even when the knowledge is clear or made clear. If a person wants to stick to their position and do not want to accept what the Shastra says, initially, with regards to Shastras, there are 2 things. First of all, a lot of people we have this feeling that Shastras have to be explained through science. As in, why am I doing this? There has to be a scientific reason to it. This is possible only to a certain extent. This cannot be extended throughout the Shastras. It is not possible. What our Shastras say and what our Gurus say is Shastras are the 6th Pramana. Just as we believe our eyes, what we see, we listen to something and we believe that. In the same way, Shastras have to be taken as a means of knowledge. Today we go to we listen to a science lecture or we read a science book, some scientist saying something. We have not done any experiment on that, yet we want to believe it because it comes through what we call as valid sources. And here Shastras have to be considered as valid sources. Shastras have to be considered to be valid sources. Shastras therefore become pramana, becomes means of knowledge. And believing that until it becomes my knowledge is Shraddha. Not considering that as a valid means of knowledge is what Bhagavan talks about as doubt. Lack of Shraddha is what Bhagavan talks here as samshayam. Okay, I hope I have made it clear. But doubts are necessary if we want to make this knowledge into our own. Valid doubts within the realms of Shastric boundaries, questioning and understanding and accepting and imbibing that, assimilating that is important.
No, actually, I want to give one more thing here. Even verse 34. See, verse 34 says, tadvithi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya. So basically, here says Bhagavan himself says, pariprashnena sevaya. You must ask questions. So it is not that you should not ask questions at all. That is not the idea. The idea is that you should not have doubt on the whole structure. The edifice of spirituality. I mean, if you have doubt on that, then it makes no sense at all. So that is the idea of doubt. At least that's what I think. Right, Balaji?
Yes.
Yeah, because asking questions is definitely not prevented, and not only not prevented, in fact, it is encouraged. Our tradition is entirely based on question answers. All the Upanishads are based on question answers. Bhagavad Gita is based on question answers, and all Tantras are based on question answers. So if it is not question answers, there is no Indian tradition. So it is definitely not something which is.
But only thing, do not try to validate Vedas through science. Or our Shastras through science. That will never happen. That should never happen.
That's a different science. It's like proving mathematics through chemistry or chemistry through biology. It will be very difficult. Okay. So is there any other questions, sudden urgent questions? Otherwise, we can. Anybody? Final call. Okay, it's already 1:15. We are 15 minutes over time. So we are very, very thankful to our guest of honor for today, Sri Sengutwanji, chairman of.
Thank you, Sengutwanji. Hari Om.
Yeah, I think he's still there. Sengutwanji, then our speaker for today, Balaji, and our wonderful chanters, who did a beautiful way of chanting the chapter 3 and 4, and also all the participants who participated in today's session. So thank you to everyone, and also thank you to our eternal greatness, gratitude to Lord Krishna for making all these things possible, and his words of the Bhagavad Gita. So thank you, everybody, and see you next time. Yes, Shri Krishna. Hari Om.